Okay, then you're a writer, which means you're a reader. You're obviously online, which means you keep finding news and articles that you would far rather be reading, but you have to go off and do that pesky writing thing or that even peskier other things. There is a solution to this. In fact, there are solutions, plural, about saving up those interesting finds for when you can relax and enjoy them. But the thing is, one of those solutions is going away. Pocket. Pocket is about to close down for good. Now, if you already know and use Pocket, well, don't listen to me. Go to the link in the description and see how to get all of your articles, sort of all of your articles, out of Pocket, ready to go into someplace else. And if you don't know Pocket, well, there's a decent chance that you don't happen to have come across what are called read it later services, or sometimes just read later services or apps, in which case you and I need to put that right this moment. Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys, which, as ever, as always, is for writers like you and me who use and read and write on Macs and iPhones and iPads, except the Monday videos, they're for all writers who probably are also readers as well, and Friday exclusive are for screenwriters. I'm sure they're readers too. Yeah. Do subscribe for all of this because we have so much to talk about. And this time with a little bit of urgency because there are 3 dates involved here. And unfortunately, one of them has gone. As of May 22, 2025, the Pocket apps can no longer be downloaded from the App Store. Now, I read about this on May 23. I read it in an email from Pocket that they sent. It was about 8:45 p.m. this UK time on the 22nd. So thank you very much, Pocket, for the great long notice period. But if, like me, you'd kind of lapsed in your use of Pocket, I went on to an alternative that I'll show you. You're not stuck yet just because you can't go get the apps to read these things again. Instead, you can go to the website that's in the show notes again, and it's a support one from Pocket that says how you can log onto the service and request a download of all of your articles. It's actually the headline and the link, but not for us. Anyway, May 22 is now behind us, but July 8 is still in the future. That's the next date. Look at the quality of information you get here. But July 8 in the future is when Pocket ceases to be. And the absolute deadline for existing users is October 8, 2025. That is the final day in which you can get your old articles, out of Pocket. Don't leave it to October 8. I should say, apparently this is a thing, the makers of Pocket have reassured us all that it's called Pocket Hits newsletter. That's not going away. Yeah, no, never heard of it. So, great. Whereas, okay, if you're a Pocket user, you may have had no reason to hear of any alternatives. You probably have, but there were quite a few. Pocket was very good. If you're not a Pocket user and you're not an alternative user, well then actually you may have every reason to wonder what in the world this is about. Forgive me for a second if you do know this, but read it later service, right? They let you to collect together online articles. You see a piece on a website, I haven't got time to read it now, save it later. You read it in a newsreader app, anything online, save it. And then in theory, when you have time, you've just built yourself up a nice little magazine of articles where every one of them is something interesting to you. In practice, there's a tendency to build up a large magazine of articles that you then never remember to look at. And that was me. And actually, specifically, that was me with Pocket. I did really like Pocket, but I can't, for some reason, who knows why, I went away from all of this for a long time. And then I came back, and as good as Pocket was, it was stuffed to the brim with all these old articles I'd saved sometimes years before. And you could delete one at a time, but you couldn't go raw. If I could have wiped the lot, right, if I could have wiped the collection clear, I would have done, and I would now be very annoyed at Pocket going away. As it is, I switched to an alternative, chiefly just to start all over, really. And there I've actually been much better. I use Insta Paper, and I checked just before we started talking. I have a whole 15 articles in there waiting for me to read, and that is a nice Sunday morning read over breakfast, mug of tea, iPad, other way around. But I said Pocket users can get their articles out of Pocket. You can request an export, which only gives you the headline and the links to the original items on the web. And I did this, and yeah, safe to say I filled my Pocket, because my exported Pockets list of articles that I definitely want to read later, 5,672 unread articles. Now, in theory, having exported all of that, I could import it into an alternative to Pocket. In practice, yeah, I'll probably keep the list around somewhere. I might dip into it sometimes, maybe. But I think actually I will also more appreciate read it later services that stick around, of which I knew there were several. But as I looked into this actually to tell you what I know and what alternatives there are now to Pocket, I found out there's so much I didn't know. There are many now, many alternatives to Pocket, although it varies. There are times, I think there'd been more before, but there seems to be new ones coming out. Actually, today, I heard about one called Omnivore. And in the same breath, I learned that it shut down last year. There are others, but some of them, well, they seem more like bookmarking tools. And a bookmark doesn't cut it. You know, I bookmark something, but then the article I want to read changes or it's removed. Well, then what was the point of the bookmark? Plus, although I don't tend to bookmark much at all, if I did, well, Safari has bookmarks. So does every browser. What I want, and what I want to recommend to you, are services that save articles for you to read later and do it permanently. You do it across all of your devices as well. But I do mean all of your devices, because there's one that looks quite interesting called Matter, which is on the iPhone and on the web. Maybe I'm just unlucky where I happen to live, but I will quite often have poor internet connection. And if I'm sitting there and I can't work, well, I at least want to console myself that I can catch up on my reading. And I can't. If the stuff is online, I can't reach it. So I am only recommending apps and services that run on the Mac, iPhone and iPad. If it happens that there is also a web version, as I think there is for all of this, I'm not sure about that, well, great. Log in for any machine you're passing. But give me the articles I want on the devices I have with me. Now, I already mentioned Insta Paper. I'd like to come back to that one because there's more that I'm now exploring, and there's also new. That promising young service that looks good is called Flyleaf. Its shtick is that it works over iCloud. So you save an article on your Mac and you can read it later on Flyleaf for the iPad or the iPhone. I honestly think the iPad is always best for this, whatever service. There's just something great, actually, about kicking back with an iPad and getting absorbed in your reading. Yeah. Anyway, Flyleaf. Flyleaf also paginates articles. So instead of a web-like thing of a long scroll to read, you have to turn the pages. And it's weird how that changes things. It kind of abstracts you somehow from the fact you're reading online articles. And instead, it does give it the feel of a book. It actually helps you get absorbed in the piece. You know, by default, Flyleaf paginates articles into 2 pages per screen. And yeah, I don't like that. It just makes... Like, there are 2 halves and they seem very small. It's imposing a too narrow structure instead of letting you read what feels more natural to me. But fortunately, well, it took me a while to find this, but there is a setting that lets you change this to 1 page on the screen at a time. It's kind of a widely spaced out thing as pages go, but I think it's better. Flyleaf doesn't just let you read the text of an article. I think it does have a pretty good go at presenting it as visually as the original piece was on the web. It cuts out some distractions and things, but it's fine, good. But there are some websites I found that are really ugly when they are presented at all or on this way. So it'd be good to have the option to clear away more than it does. But actually, then there's also this. I like this. As you swipe through the pages to the end of the article, or as you now forget that it's left to right and it said try swiping up, you get the option to subscribe to wherever that article came from. Subscribe to a website's newsfeed right from within Flyleaf. That's good. I suggest, Well, it's good, but I suggest this is exactly how you can overfill your Read It Later service. But it's a good feature, and I don't believe I've ever seen it anywhere else. So yay for Flyleaf. I should say, Flyleaf is free to download and to use for all of the reading features that I like. You can read articles in it. Yes, and moreover, actually, you can send articles into it. So you find something online on your Mac, your iPhone or your iPad, and then you use the share feature and you share the article right into Flyleaf and read it later. There is potentially more, though. You can subscribe for £2 or $2 a month, or £15 or $18 per year, to get some extra features like the ability to tag articles. So you can, as you find it, you can say, this is about writing. So then you later go on and show me every article I've got about writing. The chief benefit really of subscribing is to support the developer of a good app. Without support, we can't have nice things. See Pocket for details. I am still trying out Flyleaf, but there are others. And from the pick of the best ones, well, we do need to talk about Insta Paper next. Do you know, I think this is going to sound like a criticism of Insta Paper, chiefly, I suppose because it is really. Insta Paper doesn't look as good as Pocket did visually. Pocket displayed its articles really well, and honestly, truly, if I could have started all over again with Pocket, I would have done. But the weight of 5,000 unread articles, yeah, it was too much on my back. I just got to start afresh. So all those articles, that's my fault, by the way, but still it was too much. So I looked around, and when I did, Insta Paper was the big alternative. Insta Paper does exactly the same thing of letting you save or share articles into it and keeping them until you're ready for a good read. The fact that you've now heard what Flyleaf does and what Pocket used to do actually makes it quite hard to have anything else to say about Insta Paper or any alternative, really. I will say this thing that it doesn't look modern. It somehow looks a bit dated. But whenever I see something I want to read or research, I will throw it into Insta Paper, and so far I am pretty good at remembering to actually sit down and relax with a cup of tea and read them later. I'm thinking you need to try these. You need to try. It's less about a checklist of features with them. It's more about how they all look and feel and suit you, and also cost. Insta Paper is free to use with a very generous feature set, but there is also Insta Paper Premium. For $6 a month or $60 a year, you get features like unlimited notes. I've yet to ever make a note on an article. I mean, if I'm researching something, I'll be working it somewhere else. I don't know, but yeah. Full text searches. Okay. Plus, what's described as a permanent archive, and I don't know what the difference is between that and just regular saving. But okay, you got an article saved. Good. Seriously, if I'd said Insta Paper first and Flyleaf second, it would now be sounding as if it were Flyleaf that had little to it. Whereas the truth is, I expect I'm going to continue with Insta Paper, as tempting as Flyleaf looks, as much as I've enjoyed it in the last few days. So 15 articles in Insta Paper already, though. I'm committed, aren't I, to it? I am committed enough that although I do use one other app that is a Read It Later service, I don't use it for reading later. That service is now called Reader Classic. That's Reader spelt with 2 E's. This is my newsreader app of choice. When I open it, Reader Classic goes around to all of the websites I've told it to, and it shows me if there's anything new on any of them. There's always something new on all of them. So I can read it right there, and that actually tends to be what I do. I read it right inside Reader, but I can also use Reader's own Read It Later service. And it's the usual thing. You see an article you like, you haven't got the time to read it now, so you save it. Only Reader is it's an RSS newsreader. It's an app you use for seeking out new articles, new civilizations. Having its own built-in Read It Later service is excellent. It does mean this is one app for finding new articles and one app for reading them. And it does it really well. I use it a lot, and I mean daily, for finding news, and yet somehow I still send most articles off to Insta Paper. Maybe because Readers are like a work tool as well. Insta Paper is fun. Reader Classic costs £5 or $5 on the on the iPhone or iPad, or $10 on the Mac. There's a thing called Reader, not Reader Classic, which tries to be more of a reading experience, but I didn't really take to it. That version of Reader costs $1 per month or $10 per year. And then another one, iNoReader, it's the same. It's a news reader that has its own Read It Later service built in. And actually, iNoReader, I think I'm pronouncing that right, just announced the ability to send your own PDFs into your reading collection. So send your novel in there, maybe. iNoReader is free for basic use and then costs €6.70 for more features. So they all do the same thing. They all have a free and a paid version. But there's one more that I've already got, that you already have, and yet which I doubt I'll ever use. It's Safari's reading list feature. Whenever you're on a web page, right, and your usual thing, you want to read it but you haven't got the time, well, then you can click the share button and choose add to reading list. Share's a funny word, isn't it? You're adding it to list, but okay, add to reading list. On your iPhone or iPad, you can tap the share button and do the same. So Mac or iPad, add to reading list. Until such time as you need to read it then. Then you open Safari, and when you're on the Mac, you click the top left sidebar button, and way down the bottom of the screen, so far down that you can miss it, or at least I do, there is a reading list section. Click on that, and on the Mac, away off you go. To read a saved article on the iPhone or iPad, where you open Safari, you tap on a web page to bring up the Safari controls, then you tap on the book icon. That might be all you need to do. You might be straight into reading list, but if you can't see your saved articles, well, then you're in a different section. It's defaulted somewhere else. Look at the top of the screen, tap the center icon. Safari will show the word reading list, and just set. Unlike the others, by default, when you use Safari's reading list, it pops off online to get the article and bring it to you. That is not Read It Later. That's bookmarking and fetching. But you can control click on an article in your reading list and choose Save Offline. Now, you have to be in an area with Wi-Fi or cellular connection for that to work, because it goes off then, brings it back to you. So I actually suggest, if you are going to be using reading list in Safari, it's best to go to Settings, Safari, Advanced, and Save Articles Offline Reading Automatically. Turn that on, and then every time you save an article to reading list, it will go onto your device forever. I say forever, you can delete it. So there are details and there are options and there are prices, but I suggest it's just there's nothing like having a Read It Later app on your iPad. I mean, I've done the iPhone as well, but the iPad is special. I don't always get to spend Sunday mornings relaxing and reading, particularly reading Insta Paper, but that's kind of the aim, and it's great when you get to do it. But for now, that's it for this edition of 58 Keys. Do remember the 58 Keys writing workshop set of videos that come out every Monday. But for now, for this, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourself, eh? Read more. Write more as well. It's important, but read a bit more. And I'll see you soon.